In this video tutorial, we're going to create a tree view. In order to do that, we need to create a table first. Click on the plus sign and give it a name. We're going to go with the generic name, tree structure table. Okay, save and close. After creating the table, we will need to add a view and connect the view to that table. That view is a tree view. Click on the plus sign as we do with any other views, and from the drop-down, select Tree Structure Table. Click on Accept. Now let's edit the view. Edit the form by right-clicking, choose Customize Layout. Object Identifier, Name, and Node Type. You'll see that the node type field is very important. Okay, now we're able to add a couple of entries. To better understand how a tree view works, we will use the file and folder example, and also the way files and folders interact with each other. That being said, we're going to name the first entry folder 1, the second one folder 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And now we're going to add 3 more entries, which are going to be called file 1, 2, and 3. File 1, file 2, and 3. Okay, let's save this. Now, the basic idea behind file and folder behavior is the following. You can have folders which are part of another folder. You can have files which are also part of a folder. But you can't have files which are part of other files. At this point, I can take a file and drag it into a folder. Also 3. We can have folders which are part of other folders. But if I'm gonna drag files to another file, well, that's also possible, but in real life, it's not the behavior that we want to implement. Let's drag file 1 out of file 2. Okay, now we have a nice structure. We can take these columns out because we're not quite interested on these. Okay. And now let's start customizing the way the structure looks and acts. We're going to close this window. We're going to go to the nodes property and create 2 nodes. One is a folder, and the other one called file. For the first one, we're going to add an image to it. Load. We're going to go with folder. For file, we're going to do the same. And we're going to go with file. Save. Now, if we go back to the tree structure view, we're going to click on Edit. And now we're going to customize each and every entry that we have inside here by assigning a node type. Folder 1 is a folder. Folder 3 is also a folder. File is a file, and so on. Okay, as you can see, all the images that we have applied to the node types have been assigned to our entries after applying a node type. Let's save. The good news right now is that our tree view looks great. We have entries that have a particular name. We have also icons assigned to those entries based on node types. But the bad news is that you cannot play with these anymore. As you can see, you cannot drag files in folders or folders in files and so on. And the reason for that is that because we haven't defined the behavior for the node types. So a node type folder doesn't know how to behave towards a node type file and vice versa. And in order to solve that problem, we will need to save and close this window and click on the effects. The reason we're here is because we want to define the behavior between the nodes, depending on the node type. So we're going to add two entries over here. And for the first one, the source node type is going to be a folder. The target node type is also going to be a folder. The second one, source node type is going to be a folder, and target is going to be a file. Save. The next two entries that we want to add over here are the following. For the third one, source node is going to be a file. The target is also going to be a file. For the last one, the source is going to be a file, and the target is going to be a folder. Let's take all of these four behaviors in part and customize each of them. So we have folder and folder, source and target. You are able to move below or above a folder to another folder, and you can also copy a folder within another folder. And the effects that are set up by default over here are working just fine. If we go to the next one, you can move a folder below or above a file, but you cannot copy a folder within a file. So we're going to uncheck this option. For the third one, source is a file and target is also a file. You can move files below or above each other, but you cannot copy a file within another file. The last one, you have source file and target folder. You can move below or above files and folders, and you can also copy files within folders. And in this case, we're going to leave these effects as they are. Click on Save. And now let's go inside the tree structure view and check out the behavior. Let's see if the behaviors that we have defined a bit earlier are acting the way they're supposed to. Let's see if folder 2 can be dragged within folder 4. And this is possible. You can have a folder within another folder. Let's say if you can drag a file within a folder, and you can do that. You saw earlier the green arrow, and that's cool. And the next behavior that we want to check is the following. Let's see if we can drag file 1 in file 3. Well, no arrow is shown over here, so this is not possible. And the last behavior that we want to see if it's working properly is if we can have a folder inserted or copied in a file. Let's say we have folder 3, drag it right in front of a file and no arrow is shown. So this is not possible. You can move it up and down, so below and above, but it's not going to work if you're going to put it inside a file. This leads us to the conclusion that the behaviors that we have defined a bit earlier are working properly. Let's save. Let's change the structure that we have defined here just a bit. Let's say we want to drag file 1 inside folder number 3. It works just fine. This way, we have the following structure. We have folder 1, which is acting like a root folder, because inside the root folder, we have folder number 3. Folder number 3 is acting like a parent to file number 1. So we have the root, we have the parent, and we have the child. What if you want to limit the possibility of dragging and dropping files or folders outside of this structure? Well, you can change that by playing around with these settings. Keep in parent and keep in root. To demonstrate that, let's say we want to change the behavior between file and folder. We're selecting this entry, and besides the effects that we have defined a bit earlier, we want to keep files in the parent. Let's save. Click on Edit. And remember, we have folder 1 as a root, we have folder 3 as a parent, and we have file 1 as a child. If we want to drag file 1 out of the parent structure, you won't be able to do that. Let's save. Save and close. Let's say we want to change the way file is behaving towards the folder and keep it in the root. Save again. Now let's see how this behaves. We have file 1, and now we're able to change the position of file 1 outside of the parent, but it's still in the same root of folder 1. If we want to put file 1 in folder 5, this is not permitted because we just have defined this type of behavior. This is how keep in parent and keep in root are allowing you to manage the way your nodes interact with each other in a tree view. To make sure you have a better understanding of how behaviors are defined within a tree view, get your hands on a free trial license of XtraBuild Designer and start playing with it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for watching.